If you are here, it means that somewhere in this long and busy day, you decided that you deserve rest. And you are right. You do. Before we begin, I want you to do one thing, just one. Put everything down, not tomorrow. Not after one more thought, one more worry, one more thing to remember. Right now. Put it all down. You are not needed anywhere tonight. There is no task waiting for you here. No deadline. No decision. Nothing that cannot wait until morning. 2. You somewhere very far from the noise of the world. Somewhere old. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere that has been waiting for you for a very long time. All I ask of you is this: breathe and listen. That is all. Let your body sink into wherever you are lying right now. Feel the weight of you, the warmth of you. You have been carrying yourself through this entire day, and you have done well. But now you can set that down too. Let the surface beneath you hold you completely. You do not have to hold yourself anymore. Take one slow breath in and let it go. Good. Now close your eyes and come with me. The ancient library of Ravenscroft Castle. Close your eyes. There is nothing you need to do right now. Nothing you need to remember. Nothing you need to solve. Whatever weight you carried into this moment, you may set it down now, gently, the way you would set down a heavy coat at the end of a very long journey home. Just let it fall from your shoulders. Let it rest on the floor beside you. It will still be there in the morning if you want it, but for now, you do not need it. Take and breathe out. Again. Breathe in slowly, filling the lowest part of your lungs first, the way water fills a vessel, rising from the bottom, unhurried, inevitable. Hold it for just a moment, and then let it go. Let it go the way autumn lets go of its leaves, without resistance, without reluctance, simply releasing what it no longer needs to hold. Once more, in and out. Good. You are already beginning to soften. You may notice that the muscles around your eyes feel slightly. Did a moment ago. This is welcome. This is right. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. Now we are going to breathe together 4 more times, and with each breath, I want you to imagine that you are sinking. Not falling, never falling, but sinking the way a stone sinks through still water, slowly, peacefully, with great patient intention. Each breath carries you a little deeper into stillness. Breathe in 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3. And out 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe in 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3. And out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3. And out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One last time. Breathe in 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3. And out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There. Can you feel that? A kind of loosening. A gentle unraveling of the tension you have been holding, perhaps without even realizing you were holding it, somewhere behind your eyes, of your shoulders, somewhere deep in the quiet architecture of your chest. Let it continue to unravel. You do not need to help it along. Simply breathe, and it will take care of itself. You are safe here. You are warm. The world outside has grown very distant, and that is a beautiful thing. Let it be distant. Let the ordinary concerns of ordinary hours dissolve like sugar in warm water, slowly, thoroughly, until there is nothing left of them but a faint sweetness you can know, identify. Now, I am going to take you somewhere very old, somewhere very quiet, somewhere that smells of rain and parchment and centuries of accumulated stillness, a place where the world has always moved slowly, where the hours have always been long and generous, where there is nothing asked of you and nothing expected. Come with me. You have arrived. You do not remember the journey entirely. The details have softened at the edges, the way old photographs soften, the way soften when you try to recall them in the bright light of morning. What you know is simply this: you are here now. You are standing at the entrance to a vast stone library, deep within the eastern wing of Ravenscroft Castle, in the high country of northern England, on a night in late November, when the rain has been falling for so many hours that it no longer feels like an event. It feels like a permanent condition. It feels like the sky has simply decided, with great quiet is what the world is now: rain and darkness, and the ancient smell of stone. The library door is made of oak so old it has turned almost black. The grain of the wood runs in long, slow rivers that your eye follows without meaning to, up from the floor, swelling slightly in the middle where centuries of hands have touched it, then narrowing again toward the brass handle that has been polished not to brightness, but to a warm, deep gleam, the color of old honey held up to candlelight. Your hand on it. The metal is cool against your palm, not uncomfortably so, just present, just real, just grounding you in this moment with quiet certainty. The door opens, not with drama, not with the theatrical groan of a Gothic novel. It opens the way well-made things open, with a slow, smooth, inevitable ease that speaks of careful hinges and good craftsmanship, and the quiet confidence of a door that has been doing its job for a very long time and expects to go time more. There is a soft breath of displaced air as it swings inward, carrying with it the first true wave of the library's interior atmosphere, and you pause for a moment on the threshold, not because you are hesitant, but because what greets you deserves to be received slowly, with full attention. The library of Ravenscroft Castle is a room of extraordinary proportions. Its ceiling climbs 4 stories above your head, and the walls on all 4 sides are fitted floor to ceiling with wooden shelves, each one packed with the spines of books so numerous that you cannot, even now, begin to count them. The shelves are connected by a system of narrow iron galleries, delicate walkways that ring the room at each level, each one reached by a spiral staircase in each of the 4 corners. The metal steps worn slightly concave in the middle from the footfall of 2 centuries of scholars and librarians and curious guests who made the long journey from London or Edinburgh, continent simply to spend an afternoon in this impossible, magnificent room. But you are not here to climb the staircases. Not tonight. Tonight, you are here for the chair. It is there, exactly where you knew it would be, positioned in front of the great stone fireplace at the far end of the room, between 2 low tables on which various books have been left open, their pages as still as sleeping things. The chair is enormous and deeply upholstered, covered in a dark green fabric that, unevenly over the years, darker at the back and armrests, slightly lighter across the seat where the fabric has been compressed by a generation of readers. Its legs are carved from walnut, ending in small, rounded feet that seem to grip the Persian carpet beneath them with a kind of quiet contentment. There are cushions, 2 of them, a larger one at the back and a smaller one on the left armrest, both covered in the same faded green, both slightly flattened, but still enormously soft. You cross the room toward it. Your footsteps are muffled by the great carpet that runs nearly the full length of the floor, a carpet of such deep crimson that in the low firelight it appears almost the color of dried roses. Its pattern of interlocking geometries, worn smooth in the paths most frequently traveled, still crisp and detailed in the corners, and edges that no one ever walks across. You are aware of the slight give of it beneath your feet, the way it absorbs your weight with a kind of patient generosity, the way it makes the act of walking feel quieter and more deliberate than it usually does. You reach the chair. You lower yourself into it, and there you remain. You become aware of the rain, not as though it is new. It has been falling all evening, all night, perhaps all day. But you become aware of it the way you become aware of your own breathing when someone draws your attention to it. It was always there. It will always be there. But now, in the deep coin, this library, with the fire settling into comfortable embers, and the chair holding you with such patient, encompassing warmth, you allow yourself to simply listen to it. The rain arrives at the library's great windows in waves, though not violent waves. Nothing so dramatic as that. They are slow, sighing waves, the way the sea arrives at a gentle shore on a windless day. You can hear the rain building slightly as the wind shifts, a soft crescendo of white sound against the glass, and then again retreating into a quieter, steadier rhythm. It does not drum. That is the word that does not apply here. It does not hammer or batter or assault the windows in any way. It simply falls against them, over and over, with the tireless, mindless persistence of water doing what water has always done, what water will always do, long after every other sound in this room has been forgotten. The windows of the library are tall and narrow, fitted with old glass that was made centuries, by craftsmen who did not have the tools to make it perfectly flat. And so the glass has a slight, almost imperceptible waviness to it, and in the firelight, the rain running down the outside surface catches and refracts in tiny, irregular patterns that you can observe if you look closely. The water finding its own path down the glass, dividing and reuniting and dividing again, following the microscopic geography of a surface that looks smooth, but is, in truth, a landscape of its. Invisible hills and valleys down which every raindrop makes its quiet, individual journey to the stone sill below. If you listen very carefully, not straining, just attending, the way you attend to something that does not demand your attention but rewards it, you can begin to distinguish the layers within the sound of the rain itself. There is the primary sound, the steady, general hiss of the rain against the glass. But beneath that, if you are patient, you will notice that the rain also strikes the stone ledge of the window sill in a slightly different register, a fractionally lower and more solid sound, like the quiet, irregular tapping of a finger against a table made of stone rather than wood. And below that, or perhaps beside it, there is the sound of rain falling into the iron gutter that runs along the base of each window on the outside, collecting and channeling the water away with a faint, intermittent musical sound. Not quite a trickle, not quite a ring, but partway between the two. The rain does something to silence, you have always thought. It does not break silence. If anything, it deepens it. Because the rain provides a continuous, neutral, utterly consistent layer of sound that your mind quickly decides is not worth monitoring, not worth parsing for meaning or threat or significance. And so your mind sets it down, this sound of rain, the way it sets down the sound of your own heartbeat, and simply stops attending to it conch. Setting it down, your mind becomes somehow quieter than pure silence would allow. Pure silence requires a kind of vigilance. Pure silence asks your ears to remain open, alert, waiting for the sound that pure silence is merely the absence of. But this rain, this endless, purposeless, utterly benign rain, tells your ears that there is nothing coming, that the world outside has wrapped itself in this gray and constant sound, and nothing at all, is going to disturb it. You let out a slow breath. The rain falls on. It has been falling, you think, for hours before you arrived, and it will be falling for hours after you have drifted away into sleep. Perhaps days. Perhaps this entire gray November will be a single long rain, one continuous event that would never have seemed to be anything other than one single, seamless, perfect rain. A rain that began somewhere and will end somewhere, but whose middle is here now, with you, washing the ancient stones of Ravenscroft Castle with same patient indifference with which it washes everything else. Roof slates and garden walls, and the long, empty gravel drive, and the bare branches of the oak trees at the edge of the east lawn, all of it receiving the same rain, all of it equally and generously, and completely drenched in this one long, quiet, authoritative November night. You breathe in. The smell of this room is unlike any smell you encounter in ordinary life, and yet it is one of the most instantly recognizable. World, the smell of old books, old paper, old bindings, the accumulated aromatic legacy of 10,000 volumes spanning 4 centuries of thought and imagination and scholarship and obsession. It is not a single smell. It is a chord of smells, a complex, layered, deeply satisfying chord that reveals different notes depending on how deeply you breathe and how long you hold that breath and how still you let your attention become. The top note, the first thing you notice, you before any other, is a kind of dry, faintly sweet dustiness. Not unpleasant dust. Not the harsh, caught in the throat dust of neglect or decay. This is a refined dust, an aristocratic dust, the dust of paper that has been aging slowly and voluntarily, with great natural dignity, over many, many decades. It is the smell of pages that have drunk the light of thousands of afternoons and have incorporated that light, somehow, improbably, into their very molecular structure. This soft, papery warmth that meets your nose and tells some very old, very deep part of your brain. Here is safety. Here is human knowledge made physical. Here is the evidence that someone cared enough to write a thing down, and someone else cared enough to preserve it. Beneath that first note, if you breathe slowly through your nose and allow the smell to develop the way a piece of music develops, not rushing toward the end, but moving through its own unhurried progression, you will find leather. The bindings of these books are made of calf leather, Morocco leather, sheepskin, and vellum, each one treated and cured and tooled by craftsmen whose names have been entirely forgotten, but whose work is here, still present, still releasing its particular character into the air of this room. Leather aged 200 years has a smell that is part animal and part mineral, and part something else entirely, a kind of amber and earth complexity that belongs to no simple category. It is, without being sweet. It is dry without being harsh. It suggests, somehow, both the animal it once was and the object it became, and it carries within it the faint suggestion of the hands that have touched it over all the years, the oils of human fingers absorbed into the grain of the leather, until reader and book have become, in some microscopic way, continuous with one another. Lower still in the chord, present in the way a cello is present in an orchestra, fundamental, grounding, overlooked but devastating in its absence, there is the smell of wood. The shelves themselves, the oak paneling of the walls, the carved moldings of the gallery rails, the parquet border of the floor beneath the edges of the great carpet. This is old oak, and old oak has a smell that younger wood cannot imitate, a smell arrived at only through time, a deep, dry, slightly smoky, faintly bitter smell, not unpleasant in the slightest but grave and patient, the smell of a material that has stopped, trying to be anything other than what it is, and has settled with great contentment into the final, permanent form of old wood in an old room. And then, woven through all of this, not so much a note of its own as a warmth that suffuses all the other notes and makes them glow. There is the candle wax. The library's light comes primarily from two sources tonight, the fire and the candles. There are 12 candles in the room, positioned in holders of various kinds. 3 on the mantel, in an iron chandelier overhead. 2 on each of the low tables beside your chair, and 1 standing alone on the edge of the nearest bookshelf. A taper so old and so worn that it has dripped an elaborate landscape of pale wax down its holder and onto the shelf below. A frozen geography of accidental sculpture. The candles are made of beeswax, and beeswax burning has a smell unlike any other candle, a smell that is both sweeter and more complex than paraffin, carrying with the hives from which it came something floral, something warm, something that belongs to sunlit meadows and long summers, something that seems impossibly to belong here too, in this stone room in the rain. A small, warm contradiction that makes the room feel more human, more inhabited, more cared for. You breathe in once more, deeply, slowly, and you hold all of it at once. The paper, the leather, the old wood, the beeswax, the faint stone coolness that underlies everything, the damp mineral smell that enters at the edges of the window frames, where the rain finds its way in by fractions, the ghost of every fire that has ever burned in this fireplace, drifting up from the stone of the hearth itself. You hold it all for just a moment, and then you breathe it out. And as you do, you feel something release in you that you had not known was held. Now your attention drifts, as attention does in very quiet rooms, toward a sound you have been hearing without consciously registering for some time. It has been there since you sat down, perhaps since you entered the room. A sound so regular and so unhurried, and so entirely without urgency that your mind filed it away immediately under the category of things that require no further consideration. It is a clock. It stands in the corner to your right, between the nearest bookshelf and the edge of the fireplace surround, a tall case clock of dark walnut, its body narrow and dignified, its brass face visible in the low light. It is not a grand clock. It does not have elaborate carvings or painted panels, or the ostentatious complexity of a clock trying to announce its own importance. It is a working clock, a clock made to do one thing, and to do it with steadiness and fidelity across the whole of its long life. And it does that thing now, as it has done it every hour of every day for perhaps 150 years. It ticks. The tick of this particular clock is not sharp. A bright metallic click of a pocket watch or a modern mechanism. It is a wooden tick, or rather, it is the tick of a brass mechanism housed within a walnut case, and the walnut absorbs and shapes and gentles the sound until what reaches your ears is something low and full and rounded, a sound with a slight warmth to it, a slight resonance, as though each tick echoes for just a fraction of a moment in the wooden chamber before it dies away and makes room for the next. Tick. And then a pause of exactly the right length, neither too long nor too short, a pause that contains within it all the patience of a very old mechanism that has learned, over a century and a half, that the next tick will come, that it always comes, that there is no need to hurry toward it. And then, tick. The rhythm of it is so steady and so slow and so absolutely reliable that your own breathing begins, after a while, to follow it. Not consciously, not deliberately, simply because the body, slow enough and regular enough and sufficiently devoid of threat, will find itself inclining toward that rhythm the way a compass needle inclines toward north. You are not trying to breathe in time with the clock, and yet, gradually, your breath deepens and slows until each inhale occupies several ticks, and each exhale occupies several more, and the clock and your breath are moving together in a kind of loose, unhurried agreement that asks nothing of you and offers you everything. Tick, you are aware, in a distant and academic way, that outside these walls the November rain continues to fall on the dark countryside. You are aware that somewhere in this castle other rooms exist, rooms with their own furniture and their own darkness, and their own gathering of dust and silence. You are aware that morning will come eventually, in the slow way that November mornings come, gray and unhurried and without ceremony. But these are facts about the world, not facts about this chair, this fire, this room, this clock. This clock, which has been ticking since before your grandfather was born. This clock, which will be ticking after everything you have ever worried about has long been resolved or long been forgotten. This clock, which does not know your name, does not know your troubles, does not know anything at all except the exquisitely simple task of marking time in this dark corner of this old room. Tick, and the pause, and tick. The fire settles. It has been burning for hours, and it has passed through the dramatic phases of a fire long ago. There is no leaping flame now, no sharp crackling, no orange excitement. What remains is the deep stage of a fire, the stage that contains more heat and less theater than any other. A bed of embers that glow in slow pulses of amber and rose and deep, dark red, as though the fire is breathing, as though it too has been calmed by this room and this rain and this clock, and is content now to simply be, then bright, to offer heat rather than spectacle, to do its work without performance. The light it casts is the softest possible light. It does not illuminate so much as it suggests. It touches the spines of the nearest books with a warmth that makes the gold lettering on some of them briefly, quietly legible, names of authors, names of books, the compressed titles of long vanished ideas and long ago imaginings, all of them resting in their places, all of them patient, all of them steady. Eyes are heavy. This is not an observation that causes you any anxiety. It is simply a fact, like the fact of the rain, like the fact of the clock. Your eyes are heavy because you are warm and safe, and the room is dark, and the rain is falling, and the clock is ticking, and the smell of old books and beeswax and wood is in every breath, and there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that requires your eyes to remain open. So they are heavy, and you allow them to be heavy. You do not struggle against heaviness. You receive it the way the carpet receives your footstep, with patience and generosity, absorbing it into something larger and softer and more comfortable than the thing itself. The clock ticks. Somewhere in the shelves above you, on one of the iron galleries perhaps, there is the faint sound of something settling. Not alarming, just the sound of old iron expanding very slightly in the warmth of the room, or perhaps the sound of a book shifting a fraction of an inch in its place. After decades of perfect stillness, a tiny sound, gone as soon as it arrived. The clock absorbs it, as the room absorbs everything, with perfect equanimity. You let your head rest more fully against the back of the chair. The cushion receives it. The rain falls. The fire breathes. You are becoming, very gradually and very peacefully, less distinct from this room than you were when you entered it. The boundaries between you and the chair, between you and the warmth, between you and the darkness, are softening in a way that is not frightening, but deeply, profoundly restful. As though the room is gently, slowly, with great care, taking you in. Your thoughts, if you are still having them, have lost their sharp edges. They move now the way objects move in deep water slowly, their motion translated into something heavy and dreamlike, their urgency dissolved. A thought arrives and drifts and is gone before you have fully registered it, and another comes, equally slow, equally weightless, and goes the same way. The clock ticks. The rain falls on the windows. The beeswax candles burn lower. On the mantelpiece, the 3 candles have been burning long enough that the wax has pooled in a white lake around the base of each wick, a perfectly still pool on which the tiny flame is reflected. Flame and reflection, fire and its double, both of them so small and so steady that they seem less like fire than like the idea of fire, the gentlest, most patient version of the Kants. To its very essence, the room is so quiet now. Or rather, the room has always been this quiet, but you are quiet enough now to notice it. Your own breathing, slow and deep and regular, is the loudest sound in you. The clock is the loudest sound in the room, and the rain outside is the loudest sound in the world, and even it is not loud, not really, just present, just faithful, just doing what it has always done. You are nearly asleep. You know this the way you know it at. Sleep, with a last thin thread of wakefulness, that observes the approach of sleep without being able to stop it and without wanting to. The chair is warm. The fire is warm. The smell of books is in every breath. The clock marks time so quietly, so patiently, so far removed from urgency or demand, that time itself seems to have slowed to match it. Tick, and the long, generous pause, and tick. You do not need to hold on to anything. There is nothing here to hold on to. The are gone from it, or rather, when you have gone so deeply into sleep that the room exists only at the very edges of your awareness. A warmth, and a smell, and a sound. A faint background of rain and ticking and firelight that will accompany you down. Down. A little further down. The way a stone descends through still water, slowly, without effort, without resistance, with nothing but the quiet cooperation of gravity and depth. The candles on the table beside you cast a last small warmth across the closed covers of the nearest book. The title is not legible from where you rest. It does not matter. It has been read, this book, and it waits in the patience that read things have, the patience of things whose purpose has been fulfilled and who now rest in the fullness of that fulfillment. Everything in this room is resting. The books are resting in their shelves. The fire is resting in its embers. The rain is resting against the glass in its long, endless, restful fall. The clock is resting between its ticks in that perfect pause, that generously proportioned pause, the pause that is not absence, but simply the held breath between one moment and the next. And you are resting, more deeply now, more completely. Your breath is slow and even and full. Your body is warm and heavy and cared for. The chair holds you. The room holds you. The dark and rainy November night holds everything. There is nothing to think about. There is nothing to remember. There is nothing to do. Is only this: the smell of old pages in the dark, the sound of rain on glass centuries old, the tick of a clock in a walnut case in the corner of a library no one will visit until morning, the warmth of embers, the weight of your own eyes, the slow, patient, enormous quietness of a room that has been accumulating silence for 400 years and knows, with absolute certainty, how to keep it. Sleep now. Let the last thread of wakefulness go, the way the autumn tree release, gently without drama, with the deep contentment of a thing completed. The rain will fall. The clock will tick. The library will hold its breath in the dark, as it has always held it, as it will always hold it. And you will sleep deeply, warmly, completely, without dreams that disturb, without thoughts that catch, only the deep, wordless rest of a traveler who has arrived at last in exactly the right place and set down every burden and closed every door and allowed the night to. The night has always known how to do. The clock ticks. The rain falls. You are gone.